Welcome to 100 Clues. The Philippines is the ancient land of gold known as Ophir in the Bible and history. No, it's no fable, and this has already been proven in full in the God Culture's Solomon's Gold series in such a definitive way that no historian, scholar, theologian has dared to debate them. The few who have tried have failed. At the request of many viewers, we have pulled out 100 clues from this research, in which we will be highlighting briefs of the most compelling points. And yes, there are over 100. These videos are for those who have not had time to watch Solomon's Gold series, and easy to share to friends and family, especially skeptics. This brief video cannot replace that 50-video series, nor prove the way that it does, but this will be very effective nonetheless. So, here we go. Go over there for full evidence, but here is 100 clues that the Philippines is Ophir, one clue at a time. Let's find the ancient Greek source of gold and silver today. I have to admit, it is actually pretty easy because the Greeks were excellent at recording history. They called the isle to which they journeyed by sea to acquire their gold in bulk Chryse, meaning in Greek, the golden one, and the isle of silver next to it, Argyre. And check this out. They say it is east of India. Wait a minute. Is Yemen or Ethiopia east of India? Nope. Can India be east of itself? You can answer that. So, reference number 2, and both points already rule out the main claims out there for ancient Ophir. Periplus of the Erythraean Sea in the 1st century records Chryse and Argyre is being located in the last part of the inhabited world toward the east, under the rising sun itself, beyond the land of China, which brought silk to India. Gee, I don't know. What islands are east of China? Wait, Ethiopia? Nope, that's not it. Yemen? No. India? Ugh. Someone must know their geography very well in speculating that those guys could possibly be this ancient land of gold. It's the Philippines. Oh yeah, and they also map it. So really, this is not rocket science, folks. Reading further in Charles Nowell's book, we find later Christian writers for centuries associated the gold of Ophir with East Africa. Now, he's showing the progression of thought. So you go back and you can read all of the scholars back in that time that said, Ophir's in East Africa, it's in East Africa, it's in East Africa, it's in East Africa. Well, they were wrong, and even the scholarly community came along and realized that. Why do you think there was this huge race to the Indies? The Indies weren't just the Spice Islands. The Indies were Ophir and Tarshish. They knew that the location of the land of gold was there. That was not in question. Then he says, but at the time of the Portuguese discoveries, Ophir was thought of as Aria Chersonesus, the Golden Peninsula. Now, that is also a name for Chryse, the Greek Isle of Gold, which certainly wasn't in Greece, but it was in the Far East. Did they know that it was in the Far East? Again, they used to think it was in East Africa. Now they believe that it's this Golden Peninsula. But even this writer says, but that proved out to be wrong. So, he said of Ptolemy, in which that Greek geographer also placed Catagara, mentioned by Pigafetta as the immediate trans-Pacific goal of Magellan. And again, they were wrong on that as well. But getting closer, honing in on the location all along. That's what explorers do, and shouldn't really be a surprise that there was a progression of thought. So you can go back again to that era and say, oh, well, it had to be the Malay Peninsula. That's old news. That was already disproven. Okay, and Magellan knew better, as did Barbosa. The writer then says, but Magellan connected Solomon's treasure, Ophir, Tarshish, with something else he had read in Barbosa. Now, we know what he read in Barbosa. We just covered it. What did he read? He read that the Leucoi, the Leucos, the Lusos, however you want to pronounce it, of where? Of Luzon. The Ilocos, Ilicanos. And Pigafetta defines them when he comes as the Leucoi, the Leucos, spelled basically the same. So these guys are talking the same language, and they're honing in. So they knew exactly where they were. They knew they were not in these other lands. The Philippines was Ophir and Tarshish. But Magellan connected it. So here we go. So, but wait, where did Magellan land? Did Magellan land in Taiwan? No. Did he land in Japan? No. He landed in the Philippines. Did he not know that Japan was much further north? Are we really supposed to forget that Barbosa was with him and knew very well where Ophir was, at least generally, but certainly not as far north as Japan? Evidently, we are supposed to, because this author then goes on. See, we don't agree with all of these guys just because we use their sources, nor do we have to, nor do we care to. We're just searching for the truth. So this author guesses Taiwan and Japan. Not bad guesses. He's making educated guesses. He's a scholar. There's no doubt about that. His research is good. His conclusions are not. And that is not rare. We find it all the time. So Barbosa himself knew where Ophir was. And he knew it wasn't Japan. So we know that's not the case. Columbus believed this land was just above the equator, and this writer mentions, oh, it's north of the equator, so it must be Japan and Taiwan. Also, Taiwan is not Isles, and though it has some gold, certainly, but it pales in comparison to the Philippines, which is identified on Mila's map of 43 AD even. We had someone say, oh, well, that was a reconstruction. Yeah, a reconstruction of Mila's map of 43 AD, and pretty well confirmed to be so. So if they can prove that that's not Mila's map, we'd be happy to listen. We've never seen any proof, however, just bluster. Now, there is no coherent case for Taiwan nor Japan, and the Spanish knew that and proved it. One blogger actually said, why use an author if you do not agree with his conclusions? Well, a lot can still be gleaned from their research many times, so obviously it's a good thing to do that. It's unwise not to. Columbus had good research, for instance, and he turned out to be right about Ophir in where he said it was, where he thought it was, where his research showed it was. But when he landed in the Caribbean, he certainly was not in Ophir. He was wrong. He thought he was right, but he wasn't. It's okay. Let's not, jump on the guy. He is trying to find something that no one else had found. So, are we to now call America Southeast Asia because Columbus said it was Southeast Asia? Of course not. Even though they do still call the Caribbean natives Indians, which is rather ludicrous that they would keep that, but oh well. So these guys were searching for Ophir, and only one view was proven to be accurate, and that's the Philippines, proven by these same guys. So there is still no case for India, Malaysia, nor the rest, and we'll deal with them each. So that's coming. Continuing facing this great land of China. There are many islands in the sea. Now, that doesn't narrow it down. Obviously, Japan's there. The Philippines is there. Taiwan is there, facing China. They're all facing China. There's no doubt about that. Beyond which, on the other side of the sea, there is a very large land which they say is mainland, from which there came to Malacca every year 3 or 4 ships. That's called the Philippines, not the Japanese. But like those of the Chins, who had ships like the Chins? The Philippines had junks. Pigafetta shows that, and we've already covered that at this point, I believe. Oh no, it's coming. Belonging to white men who are said to be great and rich merchants. They bring much gold and silver in bars, silk, rich cloth, and much very good wheat, beautiful porcelains, and many other merchandises. Now, this is an ancient reference, and we believe that white men will cover the Lukoi, the Lukos, specifically that there were white men among them, and we believe that's because it's referring to Solomon's navy. It's referring to Phoenicians mixed with Hebrews. The Phoenicians were white men, and the Hebrews were dark-skinned, as history tells us over and over from Egyptian hieroglyphics all the way forward. Here's a map from 43 AD, 2,000 years ago almost, about the time of Jesus, Messiah. It's reconstructed from Pomponius Mela's world map from that era. Yeah, it doesn't guess. Now, we added the arrows and boxes, but the names of the 2 islands you see blown up in the upper left, wow. There's Christ, the gold isle, and there's Argyle, the silver isle. Now we would pinpoint the Red Sea port that Solomon used, and arrows in the red, mapping the journey of his navy in his era, which we will prove out thoroughly. They would have passed Sri Lanka and Sumatra, and then turned the corner and headed north to first Argyle, which we will prove is Mindanao, Tarshish, the land of silver, and then Christ, Luzon, Philippines, or Ophir, the land of gold. Now, the Greeks operated in such a way as early as 800 BC. And for those doubting Wikipedia, understand, the origin of the Greeks were the Phoenicians. You know, Admiral Hiram, king of Tyre, who led Solomon's navy. He was a Phoenician, the origin of the Greeks. The Greeks were merely using the Phoenician route to Ophir. They knew exactly where to go. I know, someone's thinking, if the Greeks came to the Philippines, there would have to be archaeology to prove it. I mean, come on. Oh, so glad you asked. When we visited Butuan, Philippines in May, we were actually able to see this Greek armor which was found in 2018 in the Philippines. The thing is, these are indisputably Greek from the symbols and the structure, and they are dated all the way back to 800 BC up to about 480 BC. So here we go, full circle. History, a map, and archaeology all agree to support this not as speculation, but as fact, proven. But that's Christ, right? How do we know that's the biblical land of gold, Ophir? Josephus, the Jewish historian, said so. That's why. He equated Christ, or he wrote in Latin, as Aria Chersonesus, to the biblical Ophir. See, it's the same place. We know you aren't learning this in schools, but this evidence has been out there for thousands of years. But what about Tarshish? Why do we equate that as the biblical land of silver and argire? Well, because the Bible does. 1 Kings tells us multiple times that the ships of Tarshish go to Ophir for gold. Jeremiah identifies it as silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, the biblical land of silver, just as Ophir is the biblical land of gold. Why? They're in the same place. So Tarshish is a place known for silver. Other passages clarify Tarshish is an island, in fact. And Ezekiel lists the resources which came from Tarshish, and the first is silver. It is the biblical land of silver, equated to the biblical or the Greek history land of silver argire. It is the same, just as Ophir equates to Christ. Here's a map from 43 AD, 2,000 years ago almost, about the time of Jesus, Messiah. It's reconstructed from Pomponius Mela's world map from that era. Yeah, it doesn't guess. Now, we added the arrows and boxes, but the names of the two islands you see blown up in the upper left, wow, there's Christ, the gold isle, and there's Argire, the silver isle. Now we would pinpoint the Red Sea port that Solomon used, and arrows in the red mapping the journey of his navy in his era, which we will prove out thoroughly. They would have passed Sri Lanka and Sumatra, and then turned the corner and headed north to first Argire, which we will prove is Mindanao, Tarshish, the land of silver, and then Christ, Luzon, Philippines, or Ophir, the land of gold. Now the Greeks operated in such a way as early as 800 BC, and for those doubting Wikipedia, understand the origin of the Greeks were the Phoenicians. You know, Admiral Hiram, king of Tyre, who led Solomon's navy. He was a Phoenician, the origin of the Greeks. The Greeks were merely using the Phoenician route to Ophir. They knew exactly where to go. I know, someone's thinking, if the Greeks came to the Philippines, there would have to be archaeology to prove it. I mean, come on. Oh, so glad you asked. Two YouTube channels referenced below use this same slide in their videos, and these are their words from their video. We use this only for commentary purposes per the Fair Use Act, as we have every right to do. The video is fine up until this point, but here it goes way wrong. Tarshish was the grandchild of Japheth. True. By his son Javan. True. Japheth was the son of Noah. True. Who was allotted the northern part. Half-truth, which means false. No, Asia was never a part of Japheth's territory, not one piece of it. None. And there is no scripture that ever says otherwise, which is why they don't offer one. Then they say, above the Mediterranean Sea. Correct. Japheth's territory was above the Mediterranean Sea, and so was Javan, who had a little piece of it called Greece. And it is above the Mediterranean Sea. Now, the problem is, the Mediterranean Sea is not in Asia, nor can they make such a false claim, drawing a line that has to dip down to the south of the Mediterranean Sea to incorporate all of China even. It really is so easy to see through this when you know what to look for. Is Europe, and more specifically Javan, Tarshish's father, he inherited the land of Greece. And Greece is not China. No. Even look at how they take their line and draw it falsely. Very misleading and wrong. Now, they offer no scripture which supports this whatsoever, nor will they find any, because these directions actually aren't even in Genesis. They're in the book of Jubilees, which we spend time really testing and trying to get to know. If you watch Solomon's Gold series, you'll find that the last statement we made, we completely prove out Noah's division of the entire earth, not just a piece of it. So we've backed that up fully. Here they use the same reference we are using from Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. Watch how this gets twisted, very twisted. Oh yeah, and go watch for yourself and then tell them in their comments that you caught them. Just opposite the river Ganges, India, actually beyond in the reference that we use, but that's okay, we'll go with their translation here. There is an island in the ocean, the last part of the inhabited world toward the east, under the rising sun itself. It is called Christ. Yes, we see that spelled wrong, called it did, but give them some slack. We all commit typos, so no big deal. Second slide to the bottom left. After this region, under the very north, the sea outside ending in a land called China. So, the region under the very north, or under China, or south of China. Is China the region? No. Is it including China as part of, or the origin of these isles of Christ, Ophir, or Argyre, Tarshish? Not even remotely. So then, they take you away from the words and they map out these words deceptively. They begin with Christ is in the east. And that is correct. They draw that arrow to the Philippines. That we agree, and we prove, in fact, long before this channel existed. But then they claim, then to the north, and that leads to China. Huh? How did that phrase ever lead to China? It leads away from China, doesn't it? If you ignore the reference and totally bastardize it and draw the arrow in the wrong direction, perhaps, oh, that's what they do. It starts with China only as a marker, not a part of the narrative, but geography. And the arrow should be pointing to the south, to the Philippines, which takes you away from China, not to it. And it is only included as a marker, not the origin of Tarshish. We rarely comment on other videos, nor will we typically. But on this topic, we had to point this out while we were on it. You decide how you deal with this, but we call this a hijacking of history with an agenda. And we hate that kind of mixing no matter what one believes. We wouldn't do it, and we don't expect others to do it either. The Philippines is the ancient land of gold. We are on point 2, and already we have proven to you the Philippines is the number 1 land of gold in all of history, even remaining second on all of Earth in untapped gold deposits after mining for over 3,000 years. Some want to question that, and this further proves it. Greek history confirms exactly what Wikipedia had confirmed. And so does Josephus. They don't speculate as to a possible location of Christ's Ophir, but they give exact directions and they map it. That map did not lead to Ethiopia, did it? Nor Yemen, nor India. It leads to the Philippines, both Christ, the land of gold, Ophir, as Luzon, and the Greek land of silver, Argire, or the biblical Tarshish in Mindanao, not China. We are hardly even warming up, and this is already far stronger than any claim. And we assure most Bible scholars who have written commentaries on this topic, and we've reviewed just about all of them, have no clue about these facts, nor have they ever truly researched the topic. It is time this knowledge be restored. For those about to comment in ignorance, yep, we always get them, we dare you to watch Solomon's Gold series by The God Culture, the original channel to prove the Philippines is in fact Ophir. Even here, we are breaking these into sound bites and clear points, but watch how all 100 clues tie together in history, the Bible, science, geography, language, etc. And this series will blow your mind. Thank you for watching 100 Clues. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell. If you wish to skip ahead, go to the God Culture YouTube channel and watch their Solomon's Gold series in English or Tagalog. There will be a link on the next screen. And for those of us that haven't friended our Facebook page, The God Culture Original, please make sure you do. We can know this truth and be confident this belongs to the Philippines and no one can disprove it, nor have they. Until next time.